The email arrived at 7:03 a.m. No subject, just the name, Jessica Lawson. Mary Lawson blinked at the screen, coffee in hand, heart still steady. She smiled faintly, expecting a sweet check-in or maybe another question about wedding favors. Jessica's wedding was just weeks away. Napa Valley, vineyard views, strings of fairy lights. Mary had helped plan almost every detail. She had already wired $30,000 to lock in the venue. The florist, the photographer Jessica had loved since college. Another $50,000 was scheduled to transfer by the end of the day. Jessica's last message had read, "It's going to be perfect, Mom. Couldn't do this without you." But when Mary clicked the email, the smile dropped off her face. Mom, not dear Mom, not hi Mom, just Mom. After finalizing the guest list with Nathan and his family, we've decided to keep the ceremony intimate. Given the space constraints, and after a lot of discussion, we think it's best if you attend virtually. We'll send the Google Meet link next week. It'll be just like being there. LOL. Mary read it twice. 3 times. Then again. Her hands didn't shake. Her eyes didn't water. Something inside her just froze. She took a breath, then typed 4 words. Sure, enjoy your big day. She hit send, closed her laptop, and finished her now lukewarm coffee in complete silence. By 8 a.m., Mary was behind the wheel, driving through the early Portland fog. Her usual route to Walker & Doyle Legal, where she had worked for 18 years as the office manager. She had started there 3 months after her husband died of a stroke, 2 teenagers to raise, bills piling up, dreams on hold. She remembered standing in the kitchen back then, flipping through unpaid utilities while her old washing machine rattled behind her. Every overtime hour she worked went toward Jessica's college fund, Brian's braces, the house, the car, everything. And now her daughter didn't want her at the wedding, didn't want her. That thought looped endlessly. Mary walked into the office, greeted her coworkers, and dropped her purse by her desk like nothing had changed. But Greg Walker, founding partner, mentor, occasional lunch friend, paused beside her desk. He had a latte in one hand and a look of concern in the other. "You okay?" he asked, setting the cup down. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Mary smiled mechanically. "Just a long night." Greg studied her. "Well, this might help," he said, nudging the coffee toward her. "Your usual." Her throat tightened. That small kindness nearly undid her. Mid-morning, the noise began. Jessica. 3 missed calls, then 5 texts, then a voicemail. "Mom, please answer. We really need to talk. This is getting serious." Mary stared at her phone, then flipped it over. She wouldn't respond. Not this time. Instead, she stood, walked down the hallway, and left the building. First Federal Bank was just a few blocks away. Inside, she was greeted by David Mendez, the branch manager she'd trusted for nearly 2 decades. "Mrs. Lawson," he said warmly, rising to shake her hand. "How can I help?" Mary sat down across from him, voice calm. "I need to cancel a wire transfer." He blinked. "The one to Napa? It's scheduled to go out at 3 p.m. "Yes, that one." David hesitated. "There may be a fee, depending on timing. Can I ask why?" "The circumstances have changed," she said simply. He tapped on his keyboard. "You're in luck. It hasn't processed yet, just in time." He looked up. "Are you sure? It's $50,000. "I'm sure." She signed the forms with a clear, steady hand, then left. When she returned home that evening, her phone was buzzing on the counter. 9 missed calls from Jessica, 2 from Brian. One voicemail simply said, "Mom, please don't do this." She turned off the phone, poured herself a glass of wine she had been saving since Thanksgiving. Jessica had canceled last minute back then, too. "Work," she said. Mary stepped out onto the porch, barefoot. The air was cool. The sun was soft and fading. A neighbor's dog barked. Somewhere, a lawnmower hummed. Life went on, like it didn't just betray her. She thought of every birthday she'd spent alone, every vacation she canceled to wire tuition or bail money. The car she drove for 14 years, the shoes she didn't buy, the health scare she never told the kids about, because they were going through things. She had made herself small for so long. She didn't even remember the last time someone said, "Thank you," without a string attached. At 9:04 p.m., the doorbell rang. Mary considered ignoring it, but curiosity tugged. When she opened the door, Brian stood there, still in work clothes, tie askew, eyes exhausted, phone in hand, body tense. "Mom," he started, stepping in before she could respond. "What are you doing?" Mary shut the door quietly behind him. "Nice to see you too, Brian." He ignored the jab. "Jessica's freaking out. You canceled the transfer?" She sipped her wine. "I wasn't invited to the wedding." He threw up his hands. "It's not about that. It's about responsibility. Andrew's parents are covering most of the costs. They're traditional. You knew this. I paid 30 grand already. Was about to send 50 more. That's not tradition, Brian. That's transaction." He froze. "Wait, you were really sending another 50? "Was." "Mom, they're counting on that. The venue, not my problem anymore." His voice rose. "It is your problem. She's your daughter." Mary's voice dropped, sharp and soft. "A daughter who told me to stay home and watch through a screen." Brian stepped back, stunned. "You always make this about yourself." And that was it. That was the final snap. Mary pointed to the door. "Get out." "What?" "You heard me." "Mom, I've given everything I had," she said, voice quivering with restraint. "And I'm done being the villain in a story I wrote with love." He didn't move. "Out," she whispered again. Brian stared for one last second, then turned and left. The door clicked shut like a judge's gavel. Mary stood in the center of the living room, pulse roaring in her ears. But no guilt, only freedom. If you've ever been overlooked after giving everything you had, type 1. Your silence deserves to be heard. The next morning, Mary walked into the office and found her name missing from the project whiteboard. Not crossed out, not moved, gone. For the past 3 months, she'd led logistics for the Cranwell estate settlement, a multi-million-dollar case tied to probate disputes. She knew every clause, every email trail, every call log. Now, the case was under Chloe Harding's name, highlighted in red marker like a badge of conquest. No announcement, no warning, no explanation. Greg's door was closed. Mary stared at the whiteboard, her coffee suddenly bitter. It wasn't just Jessica. It was everywhere now. She returned to her desk and opened her inbox. 10 new emails, but it was the subject line of the first one that made her freeze. Cranwell transfer, FYI. Inside, a forwarded thread between Chloe and the firm's junior partner, Alan Say. Chloe had raised concerns about Mary's workflow efficiency and documentation redundancy. She framed it as ensuring compliance, but Mary could read between the lines. This was a setup. She scrolled further and saw a sentence that turned her stomach. With Mary approaching retirement age, now might be the time to begin a transition for smoother client continuity. Retirement? No one had asked her if she wanted to step down. They just decided. By noon, she still hadn't spoken a word. Not to Greg, not to Chloe, not even to Lisa in accounting, who usually brought her muffins on Thursdays. Her phone buzzed again. Jessica. "Mom, seriously? The venue called. We might lose everything if we don't pay by Friday. Nathan's parents are livid. This isn't okay. Why are you doing this to me? This is childish." Mary didn't respond. She stared at the screen, each message piling on like snow. What was she supposed to say? "Sorry for not funding an event I'm banned from attending?" She turned the phone face down. Around 12:30, Greg appeared by her desk. "Lunch?" he asked casually. "That new Italian place just opened up. My treat." Mary hesitated. Normally, she'd smile and decline, say she was swamped. But something in her had shifted. Maybe it was the whiteboard. Maybe the email from Jessica. Maybe the realization that she'd been everyone's doormat for so long, she didn't know how to stand anymore. She nodded. "I'd like that." Over fresh pasta and iced tea, Greg talked about his grandkids. How his 5-year-old learned to ride a bike and his toddler kept biting furniture. He laughed, soft and full. Then he paused. "Forgive me, Mary, but you seem different today." She toyed with her fork. "Lighter?" He nodded. She looked up. I canceled the transfer to Jessica's wedding. Greg blinked. Wow. She told me to watch it from a screen, Mary said. After everything, I was just a checkbook to her. He didn't say, I'm sure she didn't mean it. He didn't defend Jessica. He listened. Sometimes, he said, the hardest part of love is learning to stop giving when it hurts. He reached across the table and gently touched her hand. I think you did the right thing. Back at the office, Mary opened her drawer and found a printout she didn't recognize. Not hers, misplaced or planted. The heading stopped her breath. Succession Plan Proposal, Office Manager Role, Q3, Author, C. Harding. She flipped through, bullet points, performance reviews, graphs. A suggestion that Mary was struggling to keep pace with internal systems, slower with tech integration, and resistant to collaborative workflow tools. None of it was true. But it looked official, clinical, cold. Chloe hadn't just stolen her project, she was coming for her job. Mary marched to the printer room. Chloe stood at the copier, chatting with Alan Say. Chloe, Mary said evenly, holding up the document, you dropped this. Chloe glanced at it, then smiled. Oh, you weren't meant to see that. Alan stepped away awkwardly. Mary stared at her. You're trying to replace me. Chloe's voice didn't waver. You've done a great job, Mary, really. But this firm needs to look ahead. Fast-paced, tech-forward. You know how it is. I know backstabbing when I see it, Chloe shrugged. Let's not make this personal. It's just succession planning. Everyone's replaceable. Mary leaned in slightly, her voice like ice. Not everyone, and not without a fight. She went straight to Greg's office, laid the paper on his desk. Did you approve this? She asked, voice steady. Greg read the heading, his brow furrowed. No, he said slowly. I didn't. I found it in my drawer. His eyes snapped to hers. Your drawer? Mary nodded. Greg sighed. I'll handle it. You've earned more respect than this. And if anyone wants to talk succession planning, they'll do it to your face. She stood, shoulders finally squaring. Thank you. As she left his office, she felt it. Not revenge, not pride, power. That night at home, she made soup. Nothing fancy, just lentils, carrots, rosemary. The kitchen was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to scare her, not anymore. At 9:43 p.m., a knock on the door. Mary opened it. Rachel Kim, Jessica's best friend since childhood, now grown, in a navy peacoat, holding a reusable mug of coffee. Mrs. Lawson, she said softly. Sorry to drop by. Mary stepped aside. Come in. Want tea? They sat in the kitchen, the steam from their cups rising like ghosts between them. Rachel looked nervous. She's a mess, she finally said. They lost the venue. The caterer pulled out. Nathan's parents are threatening to cancel the whole thing. Mary said nothing. She knows she messed up, Rachel continued. She doesn't know how to fix it. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to ask. Can anything change your mind? Mary looked at her. Did she send you? No, Rachel admitted. She doesn't even know I came. I couldn't not try. Mary took a slow sip. Words are cheap when people are desperate, she said. Love isn't a negotiation. Rachel nodded. But if she apologized? Mary looked her dead in the eye. She had 20 years to say thank you. She picked now, when the money's gone? If you've ever been made to feel invisible after everything you gave, type 2. Sometimes silence says more than tears ever could. The HR meeting was scheduled for 8:45 a.m. Mary found out about it at 8:42 when she walked past the glass conference room and saw her name on the agenda projected on the screen. Performance Review. M. Lawson, Workflow Efficiency Audit. The words glared like an indictment. She wasn't invited to the meeting. She wasn't even notified. But there they were, Chloe Harding, Alan Say, and Marcy from HR, nodding at slides she couldn't hear. She stood outside the glass, invisible, watching Chloe gesture with confident polish. Her voice was muted, but her power wasn't. Chloe pointed at something on a bar chart, no doubt about digital adaptation lag or transition scalability, all built from half-truths. Mary turned on her heel and walked away. If they wanted a war, they just got one. Back at her desk, she stared blankly at her screen. The usual clutter of unread memos and calendar invites filled her inbox, but one message stood out. Subject: Your role and future at Walker Legal, from hrwalkerlegal.com. Hi, Mary. We'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss evolving operational needs within the administrative team and explore pathways for your expertise moving forward. Please select a time. Friday, 2 p.m., Monday, 10 a.m., kind regards, HR Department. They were dressing it up in velvet language, but the message was clear. Make way. Step aside. Smile while we erase you. At lunch, she didn't eat. She printed her employment contract, highlighted the clause about internal reassignment rights, and reread it 3 times. She wasn't stupid. They couldn't fire her outright. Greg would never sign off on that. But they could reassign her, demote her, or shove her into some strategic advisory hole until she retired out of shame. Or until she broke first. That evening, Rachel Kim came by again. She looked more frayed than before, dark circles, bitten nails, and the kind of nervous energy only guilt can fuel. Mary didn't invite her in this time. She stood at the doorway, arms crossed, backlit by the soft gold of her porch light. Rachel didn't waste time. She knows she hurt you, she said. She's just never been good at apologies. Mary raised an eyebrow. But excellent at expectations. Rachel winced. She's scared, she admitted. The wedding's falling apart. Nathan's family is threatening to pull out. His mom is calling her unstable. She says this proves your bitterness. Mary cut her off. My bitterness? She's overwhelmed, Rachel said quickly. They say things. People panic. It's messy. Mary leaned against the doorframe, the wood solid beneath her. Rachel, she said calmly, you were there when Jessica cried to me at 2 a.m. over her first breakup, when I bought her plane tickets to New York, when she flunked out of her first major and I told her she still had worth. Rachel nodded. And now she wants to negotiate my place at her wedding like a real estate deal? Silence. Mary's voice dropped. I drew a line. She crossed it. And I'm not moving it to make her more comfortable. At work the next day, Chloe smiled like nothing had happened. She even left a scone on Mary's desk with a sticky note. Truce? See. Mary didn't touch it. She walked into Greg's office without knocking. He looked up from his paperwork, surprised. Mary? She dropped the sticky note on his desk. Is this your idea of reconciliation? He picked it up, read it, sighed. No, but it might be hers. I'm not here to play games, Mary said. I saw the meeting. I know the narrative she's pushing. I've read the emails. She's engineering a removal. Greg folded his hands. You're not being removed. But I am being erased, she said softly. And if you let that happen, I will not go quietly. Greg looked at her for a long time. Would you consider mentoring Chloe? He finally asked. Build a transition that works for both. No, Mary said, cutting him off. I'm not your bridge to younger, cheaper labor. I'm not some relic that teaches the shiny new intern how to log into the server. She took a breath. If this firm values loyalty, then prove it. If not, I'll have my lawyer review the separation terms. Greg didn't speak, but his silence was not dismissive. It was calculating. Mary smiled coldly. I've given you my best years. Now let's see how you handle my boundaries. That night she received a letter. Actual paper, certified mail. She recognized the handwriting even before opening it. Jessica. Inside, 3 pages. Emotional, defensive, raw. I was under pressure. Nathan's parents think you're judgmental. I thought maybe keeping things smaller would keep things calm. I didn't mean to hurt you. But pulling the money, that was cruel. Mary read the letter once. No apology, no ownership. Only bargaining, guilt, and veiled blame. At the bottom, in rushed ink. We're getting married in his parents' backyard this Saturday. It's not too late to be there, if you want. If you want. Like Mary should beg for entry. Again. She folded the letter neatly, placed it in a drawer, and locked it. On Saturday, she bought herself flowers from the farmer's market. White peonies, her favorite. She spent the afternoon in her garden, pruning rosemary and humming an old Billie Holiday tune. She didn't think of Jessica. She didn't check her phone. She claimed her silence like a sword. If you've ever had to draw a line just to protect your own worth, type 3. Some peace is earned by finally saying no. Saturday morning arrived not with celebration, but with a subpoena. A legal courier showed up at Mary Lawson's doorstep at 9:18 a.m., holding a cream-colored envelope marked urgent. Her heart sank for half a second, until she realized the envelope bore no legal insignia, just a shaky handwriting that screamed desperation, J. Lawson. Inside was not a lawsuit, but something stranger. A copy of a birth announcement template, unfilled, blank, unsent. Folded inside it was a neon pink sticky note. You were right. I'm scared. Please call me. Jess. Mary set it on the counter without reading it again. Then she picked up the tea kettle, turned on the gas stove, and waited for the whistle. She had her own ceremony to attend. Silence. Across town, Jessica Lawson's wedding was unraveling by the minute. The venue had canceled 3 days earlier after the remaining balance didn't arrive. The florist dropped out, the caterer walked, even the string quartet refused to play when the final invoice bounced. Nathan's parents, once obsessed with image and elegance, were now livid and humiliated. Word had gotten out that the mother of the bride pulled the funding, a detail Nathan's mother turned into a character assassination. She's unstable, she's bitter, she wanted to sabotage her own daughter's wedding. Jessica cried in the dressing room, but not because of the accusations. She cried because, for the first time in her life, Mary Lawson didn't show up. Back at home, Mary sliced strawberries into a ceramic bowl she made at her first pottery class 2 weeks ago. The edges were still uneven, lopsided, but she liked it that way. She ate quietly, watching birds flutter near the feeder. Then, just before noon, the phone rang. Blocked number. She let it go to voicemail, then again, and again. She finally picked up on the 4th call. Hello? Silence. Then, Jessica's voice, small, cracked. It's me. Mary said nothing. I just wanted to say the wedding's off, Jessica blurted. At least the big one. We're doing a small ceremony next week. Backyard. Just Nathan's siblings and us. I thought you should know. Mary exhaled. That's probably for the best. Jessica hesitated. I didn't mean for this to happen. But it did. I was under so much pressure. I was under pressure raising 2 kids alone, Mary said calmly. But I never excluded you from your own birthdays. Silence. You could still come to the backyard one, Jessica offered. It's nothing fancy, just us. I mean, if you want. Mary paused. Let me ask you something, Jess. If the $50,000 had gone through, would I be at the big wedding today? Jessica's voice dropped. I don't know. That's the problem. Monday morning, Mary walked into Walker Legal refreshed and focused. Chloe Harding's desk was empty, completely cleared. Just a small stack of resignation paperwork on Greg's desk later that day confirmed it. She was gone. Greg appeared at Mary's door mid-morning. She took another offer, he said. Didn't even stay for lunch. Some people only run forward when they burn the bridge behind them, Mary replied without looking up from her screen. Greg cleared his throat. HR withdrew the internal review, and we'd like you to stay on as long as you'd like. No transition plans, no handoffs. Just Mary Lawson, the way you've always been. Solid. She finally looked at him. Then treat me that way. He nodded. We will. Later that afternoon, while reviewing vendor contracts, Mary received one last email from Jessica. Subject: I'm sorry. Mom, I finally understand what you meant about giving and not being seen. I've taken you for granted for too long, and I don't know how to undo it. Nathan and I are doing therapy. I'm doing therapy, and I know it doesn't fix what I did, but I want to try. I don't need your money. I need you, and I'm sorry for realizing that too late. Mary stared at the screen. For the first time, her daughter hadn't asked for anything. Not time, not money, just accountability. She didn't respond right away. She just stood up, stretched, and walked to the break room to make tea, her own kind of ritual. That evening, she invited 2 coworkers over for dinner. They laughed over bad wine and burnt garlic bread. They talked about books, about travel, about pottery classes and quiet rebellion. No one mentioned children, or weddings, or expectations. Mary realized she wasn't lonely anymore. She was free. If you've ever felt stronger after walking away from something that hurt, type 4. Sometimes the deepest kind of healing begins with finally being seen by yourself.